Hello, geometry, and welcome. Our learning targets, I can use sine and cosine. There's two other trig functions that we're going to be talking about. So you've learned tangent. Now sine and cosine, I'll be abbreviating these also with 3 letters. I can use the ratios to find heights with distances of objects in real life problems. So heights are usually more for tangent, so we're looking more at distances, but it does happen. All right, here we go. Have your calculator handy, and also keep in mind when you press mode right here, look to see, make sure it's in degree mode, okay? So, because we're dealing with degrees. When you are in pre-calc, you'll probably be dealing mostly with radians, and then of course calculus, you're going to be going back and forth. So, here we go. We have a triangle, a right triangle, A, B, C. I don't know if you could see these that well. A, B, and C. Name the hypotenuse. Okay, the hypotenuse is AB. Name the leg opposite of A. So if A is up here, the opposite would be BC. Or you could say CB. Name the leg adjacent. Remember, adjacent means next to. So next to A would be AC. Or you could say CA. And then, if AC equals 17, and measure of angle A is 41, find BC. Okay, so basically, according to this angle, I have opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to do tangent. Tangent of 41 is equal to opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 17. Right, tangent of 41 over 1, cross multiply. X is equal to 17 times tangent of 41. I usually like to write tangent with a capital T just because I don't want it to look like a plus sign. Alright, so getting the calculator out. And I'm going to put 17, let's clear that, 17 times tangent of 41. Now, the graphing calculators will automatically put that parenthesis in there in its memory, but I think it's a good habit to close it yourself. About 14.7777. Okay, now the standard rule, if it doesn't tell you how many decimals, go ahead and put 3. You can truncate it, meaning put 7.777, or round it. This last 7 will become an 8. So it's your choice. 14.777 or 14.778. So this one's truncated. If you're ever wondering what that means, and this is rounded. This is what you've been taught over and over and over. So the AP, they let you do that. All right, sine and cosine. Now you might think that, oh, this picture's familiar. It's the exact same picture I used for tangent. It's just now we're going to use different ratios of sine. So let ABC be a right triangle with acute angle A. The sine of A and the cosine of A, written S-I-N, I know it's sin, and because of that, a lot of websites will be deleted out. You got to be careful. Sin A and cosine A is defined as follows. Sine is opposite of hypotenuse, so I just write this. And cosine is adjacent of hypotenuse. And remember, tangent was opposite over adjacent. Now, what's interesting is these are your 3 main trig functions. To get the other 3, you would just flip those over. So if you flip this over, you would have cosecant. Flip this over, you have secant. Flip that over, cotangent. So, but that's not important. One thing I do want to teach you is something called SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. This is an acronym. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And of course, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that can help you remember the trig identities. All right. Find sine of t and sine of r. Okay, so let's start with sine of t. Sine of t is equal to Sine is, remember, opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite of t is 40. Hypotenuse is 85. It says write as a fraction and as a decimal. Well, I'm just going to put 40 divided by 85. 0.4706. This is usually when you do a trig function, you're going to go 4 decimal places. So, okay. This is one exception to the 3 decimal place rule. All right, how about sine of r? Okay, sine of r, again, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. But r is up here. So the opposite of r is going to be 75. And the hypotenuse is 85. So if I take 75 divided by 85, I'm going to get 0.8824. So far, so good? Okay. Flip it. And we have some application problems. Trig is a ton of application. I never have a problem where people say, when am I going to use this stuff? Okay, so it's coming up. Find cosine of v and cosine of w. Okay, write each answer as a fraction and as a decimal. So cosine of v, I do need to pick up the pace here. Cosine, remember, is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent means next to. So cosine of v, next to v is 5 square root of 5, and hypotenuse is 15. So naturally that reduces. You're going to get square root of 5 over 3. So the decimal, square root of 5 divided by 3. It's about 0.7454. All right, cosine of w. Remember, adjacent. Adjacent means next to. Oh, I put cow. Cosine of w over hypotenuse. That's 2/3. And hopefully you know that decimal. 0.6667. All right. Now, I did white this out and put numbers in there. So, because I didn't like the original problem it came in. A rope staked 20 feet from the base of a building goes to the roof and forms an angle of elevation of 58 degrees with the ground. To the nearest foot, how long is the rope? That's a long honking rope. All right, so according to this, we are looking for how long this rope is. According to this angle, I have adjacent, ADJ, whoops, and hypotenuse. Which trig function? Remember? So, toa. AH. So we're going to be dealing with cosine. Cosine of 58 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So I need to cross multiply and solve. 20 is equal to x times cosine of 58. Divide both sides by cosine of 58. X is approximately equal to, okay, can you see that? Let's bring that over here. 20 divided by cosine, it's right here. See that? 58. Close that parenthesis. About 37.7416. Okay, they want this to the nearest foot, so 37.7. I said 14, didn't I? 741. Silly me. Feet. Okay, so key concept. Here we go. Have you ever heard of angle of elevation and angle of depression? Angles. If you look at an object, the angle the line of sight makes with a horizontal line is called angle of elevation. Okay, so angle of elevation basically goes up from a horizontal. If you look down at an object, the angle your line of sight makes with the horizontal line is called the angle of depression. This goes down from horizontal. Okay, notice the angle of elevation and the angle of depression are congruent because they are alternate interior angles. Horizontal lines are parallel, okay, so that's important. And then if this is a transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent, so those will be the same. Flip. More story problems. Alrighty. A pilot is looking at a ship from her plane. The angle of depression is, so see another word, 20 degrees. So this will be 20. Of course, the angle of elevation would also be 20 because these are alternate interior angles. If the plane is at the altitude of 10,000 feet, so that's how high it is, approximately how far is it from the ship? The line of sight. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the line of sight, not this length. Normally, I would find this length, but then I put line of sight in parentheses. The reason I did that is because I want you to use a certain trig function. So remember SOHCAHTOA. You always have to figure out which trig function you're going to use. Okay, so I have, according to this angle, I have opposite, and I'm looking for a hypotenuse. Which one uses OH? SOHCAHTOA. So I have sine of 20 is equal to opposite, 10,000 feet, over hypotenuse. Put sine of 20 over 1, cross multiply and solve. X times sine of 20 is equal to 10,000. Divide both sides by sine of 20. $10,000 divided by sine is right here of 20. You get about 29,238 .044. That's in feet. That's far away. I don't know if you can see that far. Okay. How about the next one? Find the depth of a crater on a moon if the angle of elevation of the sun is 32 degrees. Okay. So one thing I want you to keep in mind, I wish I had a white pen here. If this is 32 degrees, this right here, oh, can you see that arced in there? Will also be 32 degrees because these are vertical angles, right? So I want to know how deep this is. So what I have here, I'm just going to draw the triangle a little bit. This is 325. How do they know that? It's beyond me. This is 32. And we need to know this. So according to this angle, I have opposite, opposite, and I have adjacent. Which trig function is that? OA, tangent. So tangent of 32 is equal to opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, x is equal to 325. Remember, put that constant first, times tangent of 32. And you get about 203. Ooh, a dog. A dog is looking at a bird at the top of the tree. The distance between the two animals is 55 feet. So this is 55. And the angle of elevation is 64. So this is 64. How high is the bird and how far is the dog from the tree? So we're looking for this and we're looking for this. Okay, so two things. So let's find x first. According to x, this is adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. So adjacent hypotenuse, as AH, will be cosine. Oops. Cosine of 64 is equal to x over 55. Adjacent over hypotenuse. So cross multiply and solve. X is equal to 55 times cosine of 64. Put that in the calculator. You're going to get 24.1104 feet. And then let's find y. Y is going to be the height. And it's going to be from the dog's eye level, not all the way to the ground. Okay, so normally if we knew how high that would be, we would add that to our answer. So this is opposite over hypotenuse. That will be your sine. Sine of 64 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Cross multiply and solve. Y is equal to 55 times sine of 64. Put that in the calculator. You get 49.4337 feet. Okay. Now, once you knew adjacent, you could have done Pythagorean theorem to find this. Okay. Once you know one side, but remember this is a rounded answer. So if you're going to use a rounded answer with Pythagorean theorem, you could have a bigger rounded error. Okay. Last page, and hopefully this video is not too long. In fact, I think I'm just going to save this last page to do in class because I have a feeling it's going to be too long. But if you want to, you can pause it and write down these answers right now. But in the meantime, have a really nice evening. Take care.